Hello and welcome back to Roguefx. Today we are going to talk about ranges and structure 2.0. This is going to be a part 2 of the first Roguefx trading course. There's nothing new to learn here. We're pretty much going to be going over the same topics, the same concepts, the same ideals. Of course, in more of a more advanced or technical aspect. However, it's really just the same, identifying strong lows, weak highs, as well as strong highs, weak lows, identifying our definite targets, identifying our long-term targets, as well as the obstacles that potentially intervene, pretty much meaning where price might reverse, retrace, retest, maybe even continue on, or perform a straight up reversal. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel because we do aim to post very much consistently on this channel. Ring that post notification bell, stay updated on all our videos. These things are definitely free and they only mean that you can stay updated on the content and obviously different concepts that we do go over here on Roguefx. If you do have any questions or are confused about any of the trading concepts we do have or I am presenting, definitely leave your questions down in the description or comments below. Without further ado, let's get started. As you can see, price established a weak low, retested and continue using this weak low as an overall target. Now, if we zoom in on this range, or I guess you could say trading range, you can definitely understand what's taking place. We can definitely see the liquidity being taken out with this obviously bearish rejection block. We get a break of structure, retest, price performs yet another liquidity grab towards the lows, manipulating what? A slanted. We get a choke as well as a retest of previous mitigated wick and performs an overall break of structure towards the highs, inevitably breaking a intermediate, but in this case or on this specific time frame, a major high. What does this do? Well, if our QM, if our universal pattern requires for us to obviously perform a liquidity grab and then an overall choke or break of structure, we could understand why this might be considered more of a strong low. As you can see, price continues to rally higher to obviously higher prices, taking a break at maybe this resistance or this obstacle towards the left. At this point, we can assume price is establishing its weak high. Why? Because price has established a structural high, retested, broken structure, retested again, right? So retested this volumed bearish rejection block and continued lower. It may have failed, right? It say it held, but it still definitely reacted. So we can count that as a weak low. Or if not a weak low, we can use confluence of events and identify this as maybe a equal high. Either way, price is still leaving what presumably seems to be a weak high. This is or price performed a liquidity grab, in the rebalancing aspect of this, right? Because this is definitely a rebalance that had to be liquidated and continued lower. Well, if you take this resistance as more of a structural high that overall failed to break this weak high above it, we can use that as what? A target, right? Because did this high break this high? No. So what does that mean for this high? That means it's weak. So as you can see, we have our strong low, overall weak high. We understand that we can definitely long, and be well confident or understand that it's more probable to hit this in a way external range liquidity. Why is it external range or considered external range liquidity? Because as you can see, price already took out liquidity towards sell side liquidity, broke structure, retested. Only thing left to do is reach for a type of liquidity. And if I'm being for real, like if I'm being honest, you could take it as a more of a internal range liquidity perspective, right? Because who's necessarily telling or who can actually tell that this inducement per se, right? Because we obviously did break a structural low. We retested, aimed for what? Internal range liquidity. Who's to say price can't just continue lower? While, obviously taking out internal range liquidity and just steadily dropping in pricing. It's very possible. However, in this case, price is understood to have already fulfilled internal range liquidity, which happened to be what? Maybe a doji candle, unmitigated wick. Maybe price decided to fulfill this unmitigated POI 100% as it did. Price continued higher, retest, and continued to rally to higher pricing. So now you have I'm not going to say guaranteed, but pretty much guaranteed 30 pips. And you can feel that much more confident while understanding that this week high is an overall target as well. Moving on to the next range, as you can see, price performed a liquidity grab, break of structure, retest, performed another liquidity grab, or in this case, a price or mitigation retest, and continued higher. What does that mean for this high? If price already establishes a low, retest that unmitigated wick, what does that mean for the structural high below that? Exactly. It's internal range liquidity. Price left that liquidity there for what? For maybe a future reference, something to come back to. So what does that make this? This makes this our protected low. Price continues higher, breaks a major high to the left, whether that be an overall high or maybe an intermediate high. It's the same. However, when you understand the difference between an intermediate high or a major high, you can understand why you are taking your partials at a specific area or holding your partials to maybe an area that may be premature at the moment and maximize your overall profits. As you can see, price establishes two highs, maybe slanted highs. Maybe you can think of it as maybe slanted highs like this. Price performs a choke as well as a break of structure retest, takes out internal range liquidity, which happens to be what? If I take this trend line away and we identify this 3-candle formation, what does that act as? It acts as internal range liquidity. Price reacts to it, right? Price takes out maybe the trend line that's right here, continues lower, breaks an overall order block candle, if you may, retest, and obviously performs a break of structure that obviously insinuates our weak high. Price retest uses this previous low as what? A target, because it's weak. Did this low take out this low that's overall strong or protected? No, so it's weak. You can easily target that low, which would be a pretty decent 30 pips to an extent, right? As well as, I mean, you have your POI, right? You have your unmitigated wick for a pretty decent intraday, pretty decent scalp trade. It really just depends on what time frame you're on, of course. However, understand that this does act as liquidity. So as you understand that fact, you can see why price usually decides to use this as maybe an equal low. At that point, price, has all right to continue, right? Because at this point, what are we kind of looking at right here? Accumulation, manipulation, distribution, what we talked about in, I guess, a few videos back. What is the overall target of these highs? Well, price took out internal range liquidity in this case, right? So internal range liquidity would pretty much mean, okay, so what's above this, as far as we're talking about liquidity period, well, we have a 3-candle formation, or in this case, a weak high. Well, above that weak high has to be what? Some sort of POI, right? So if we look at it or look to the left, we have an unmitigated wick, maybe a breaker to a certain extent. Just to simplify it, we're going to use the refined version, which would obviously be a breaker block. At this point, price gives us a reaction as well as a retest, right? A retest of the previous rejection block and continues lower. We target the equal lows, as well as understanding the overall, pro trend or the momentum in price. And obviously, that would give us, obviously for the counter trend, that would give us our strong high. In this case, weak low. Price obviously takes out liquidity, break structure, retest. That's 1 entry, 2 entry, continuing lower to what? Internal range liquidity. Price, obviously takes out internal range liquidity being equal lows. Again, I'm just, obviously reiterating just so you get a fair understanding. Moving forward, price continues higher, takes out liquidity of a structural high being this rejection block that's bullish. We get a break of structure or a break of pretty much an imbalance, if you may. Price retest, maybe this breaker of the unmitigated wick of the bullish rejection block continues lower to what? Internal range liquidity. Internal range liquidity being a structural low that just happens to be a bullish rejection block. Well, now that our strong low and weak high is established, we established or located our internal range liquidity. What's next? Well, obviously we're looking for a type of POI that's relevant or prevalent to our trading scenario we have at this very moment. As you can see, we have a rejection block towards the left. It's going to be bearish. However, if you look closely, we also have a price rebalancing within this rejection or breaker block or rejection block, however you want to call it. So, of course, you can take your fib. That would definitely give you a smooth fair value gap or discounted pricing. We do not draw fibs for no reason, right? So obviously respect your fib. We're going to target the highs as well as what? Well, if we look left, you can definitely see that we have pretty much a bearish, I guess, drop or a bearish trend or a bearish expansion. But if you really look closely at what's happening, we have a block, 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 block. This is definitely a block. The only thing that's not necessarily consistent about this, this drop in price would be what? An unmitigated wick. As you can see, price reacts to that unmitigated wick that acts as your first obstacle. Price determines or establishes a structural low, creates a bit of an imbalance, rebalances that price, retests, and pretty much starts the whole entire cycle all over again, right? We reach for external range liquidity. What's next? Internal range liquidity. What would internal range liquidity look like? Well, as you can see, we have a bullish rejection block. If we draw that down, we definitely have, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. We have a bullish rejection block. We draw that down, we have a fair value. What's to the left? We have a breaker block. What's under that? We have an unmitigated wick. This is how crazy your stop can actually get. This is how real this can actually get, right? Just by understanding that we have a liquidity grab, strong low, we have a break of structure, as well as an actual liquidity grab, or to an extent we reacted to a certain POI, so that at a lower time frame it would be a liquidity grab. So price retest and continues lower. At that point we have our lower time frame week high. We already have to an extent the overall target, right? So we already knowing that we're going to target here. So even if we take this buy, as well as this retest or strong low, we definitely understand that we're already securing 100 pips, right? And honestly effortless. Why? Because we understand our targets, we understand our weak highs. Did this high take out this high, or even this high? No. So what does that make this high? Weak. What is price target? Straight this weak high. As you can see, price continues to rally, of course, and we ended up breaking another structural high. Not necessarily the high above it, but it was a pretty significant high. Why? Because it was enough for price to react, right? Even if it had a bit of an extension. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on whatever is happening right here, because I honestly don't understand, or not necessarily understand. It's hard to read when it's so crunched up like this. So as you can see, price establishes its overall high of the day, of the hour, of however you want to call it, whichever obviously time frame you're on. Price performs what? A liquidity grab, break of structure, maybe an imbalance, and then retests what? Unmitigated wick, retest again, maybe another unmitigated wick. And overall, it's looking to perform maybe a reversal pattern, right? So continue or ascension, and then to an extent, a consolidation or consolidative behavior to where price is definitely not trying to continue higher, but it's definitely not trying to continue lower. At that point, what do? You wait. It's simple, right? So at this point, after this maybe time of not so much liquidity, price obviously gaps down. It's not necessarily anything too serious. It's just understanding market structure, of course. This would be established as our week high. We understand where we're going. We understand where price is drawing to, because obviously if price gapped up here, it'd be a whole different story, but it didn't. It gapped below it. So what does that mean? It means that price is pretty much broken structure, but it's happened at a time to where it wasn't able to print, right? So of course it's not going to show you that data, because the data is not there, or at least for your broker, or for your brokerage. As you can see, price in a sense broke structure towards the left. What did it reach for? As you can see, we have a bullish rally, and as you can see, we very much have what? A block. These are all different blocks, and then continue to what? Consolidate. We ended up having a break of structure towards the lows. What did it reach for? As you can see, before this bullish rally, we had an overall bullish rejection block or order block. However, if we look left, we can see that we definitely, provided a price rebalancing, which is very much fine. It's very much significant because we obviously price is performing a bullish rally on the lower time frame, taking out internal range liquidity, continuing higher, maybe failing, providing a choke, retest, and then continue higher for a break of structure. This establishes our overall range, right? Mind you, we are still in this range. It provided yet another range within a range. That's the range cycles. What's left to do? Reach for internal range liquidity, right? So what would that be? Well, if we have a trend line right here, we can definitely stretch this out and give us what? An unmitigated wick as a POI. It's pretty smooth, pretty simple. At this point, we can definitely continue on. Price takes out internal range liquidity, establishes our strong low, breaks structure. At this point, price rallies a bit, higher than we expected. In an extent or in any case, we definitely have a type of rejection block that's bearish. We can definitely take that as maybe a fair value or a 1 or maybe even a 1 from here. Price already established a strong low. Our job is to wait for our weak high to obviously print. How do you identify a weak high? We need a break of structure in the opposite direction, of course, right? Price provides a liquidity grab, choke, as well as a break of structure. That gives us a plethora of opportunity to obviously enter within the market, right? We already established our weak high. We understand that we definitely broke a pretty significant high, right? And we understand that what's our next target? It's going to be the high above that. Why? Because did this high take out the high before? No. So what does that make this high? It makes it weak, as well as this one, as well as this one, because this would be the overall, structural high that is yet to be mitigated, as well as there's a slanted high above it, which acts as what? It definitely acts as liquidity. As you can see, as price takes out obviously internal range liquidity and provides our choke as well as break of structure, you can definitely understand that price is mitigating what presumes to be a bullish rejection block. We have our discounted pricing. You can definitely take that that long if you obviously if you like. Obviously respect your fib. We don't draw them for no reason. Where do we target? Well, we definitely have an unmitigated wick to the left, right? I wouldn't be too greedy, especially on moves that already have the majority of the momentum already printed out. We can definitely aim for that low and keep it pushing. It's going to be 10% on this is a 30-minute, maybe the day. As you can see, moving on, of course, price took out liquidity to the left, establishing our overall strong low, break structure, as well as a choke. And, we have that overall weak high being, formed. Price takes out liquidity to the left and obviously breaks structure. Mind you, this is probably going to be on the minute when you're observing this price. It's going to be on the minute. It's going to be on the 3-minute, 5-minute. You're going to be observing this overall structure or this overall range, trying to identify obviously your strong low, weak high, and vice versa, understanding where your overall internal range liquidity is, so you can understand where you are able to take advantage and understand where exactly you're executing, so you don't necessarily get so confused all the time, right? Price took out internal range liquidity. We have a break. We have a for an extent, we have a reaction. Price retest took out, or I guess you could say, price performed an imbalance, broke structure, retest to fulfill that or rebalance that price and continue higher. And this happened in the wicks. That's how fractal, or that's how much of a art this is, right? It's performed the same pattern, but a whole different, I guess you could say, a whole different, point of view, or a whole different structural display. I'm not even too sure. I'm not necessarily getting the word right now, but it doesn't even matter for real, because when you understand that where liquidity is, you understand where your protected low is. You understand at that point where you're getting your retest from. You understand at that point order flow, right? And then you have a plethora of opportunity to enter before the overall expansion continues higher. We have a guaranteed profit of maybe, and again, if we're going over this again, what do we have to the left? Slanted highs. Stretch that out. We have a guaranteed profit of what? Say you get in on the confirmation, guaranteed profit of 40 pips. And that's just, taking your time and understanding your trading plan and understanding what the knowledge you have available to you. As you can see from here, price performs what seems to be a liquidity grab of 3 candle formation, continues lower, strong high. Price performs a choke as well as a break of structure, reaches for what? Liquidity, which happens to be a slanted low, establishing our weak low. Price retest takes out internal range liquidity, which happens to be what? Obviously, there's these slanted highs. However, if you look above that, we have an unmitigated rejection block. That would give us our, if you were obviously smart, you'd wait for, just be a bit patient or a bit more patient for the confirmation entry. It just makes it that much worthwhile when you understand what you're doing and understand how you're doing it. It makes this so much more, I guess you could say effortless, right? Because when you understand why and when, you can understand how these people, are able to throw these huge standard lots and, be so nonchalant with it. I don't even want to say that. I just want to say braggy, or however you want to case. These people on social media trying to, display an image that's definitely not them. Kind of like an otherworldly aura, and it's really just simple logic. As you can see after that, what this price is pretty much doing, right? We took out internal range liquidity and targeted where? External range liquidity. Well, on the other way around, we still have, or we pretty much understand that you were trading a counter trend. And if you are confused about like how is this a counter trend, well, understand the corrective behavior within price right here. Understand the impulse, and understand the impulse of these bullish rallies. As you can see, this trend line definitely acts as internal range liquidity. However, it didn't necessarily plan out. So what are we going to look for after that? Well, we definitely have a order block, which definitely turns into what? A breaker. If I end up stretching this out, we definitely have a reaction. We have a weak low that had been established, failed, swung, took out internal range liquidity, continued lower to where there's going to be a price imbalancing right here, as well as maybe this breaker or this rejection block that's very much bearish, that has the potential to, of course, give you a decent POI. However, if you want to be that much more ambitious, I understand that if you definitely pay attention to detail, you can understand even further that this bullish rejection block acts as, definite liquidity. This unmitigated wick acts as a, I guess you could say, a demand zone to a certain extent. At that case, you can definitely, apply some damage within, your skill set as you hone and as you embrace, the skill set that you've worked so hard to accomplish. That's a 14%, and that's definitely like definite profits. Like you're definitely getting it. Why? Because as you can see, what does this equate to? Liquidity. Why? Because it's a slanted high. It just makes sense. Logically, it makes sense. Now, you can definitely hold higher than that and obviously look left for what we have. Obviously, these slanted highs above it. We have a weak high as well as maybe an unmitigated POI. And that would give you how much? Well over 21% in a day, right? And that's crazy because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2.5 hours, right? And I mean, who has 2.5 hours to make well over 21% throwing maybe a 10 lot? That's well over 2,000. Like it's 2 bands. Like it's crazy how you can just implement this and lead to an overall well off life. Like this is something that I am grateful to have, been given the energy to obviously, continue this path, continue this journey of mine, and obviously help others break through as well as, ascend within their individual trading journeys. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, I'll go ahead and leave that like. Subscribe to the channel because it only means that you can obviously check out our videos and understand when they will be uploaded consistently. And it is definitely free. If you did learn anything from this video, please let me know down in the comments below. If you have any questions, definitely leave those in the comments below. If you do want to take me on as a mentor come January 2023, everything is about set up already. However, I'm obviously tightening up some loose ends and adding the finishing touches to the Discord. However, if you do want to take me on as a mentor participating in my subscription-based membership, definitely hit the waiting room down in the description below. You will not regret it. You will learn everything that I have been teaching, but on a grander scale, because you'll have access to me dang near 24/7. I will be implementing a rogue trading plan, as well as, a normal basic trading plan for people who obviously are low ticket clients, because I do want to help. My aim is to educate, and that's something that I'm very passionate about. So if you do plan on rocking with me, even if you are obviously low ticket, no, not everybody has it like that. I do understand. However, there is definitely a commitment factor when it comes to low ticket clients that I do have an issue with. I will say Roguefx mentee, or the members that actually join and that are committed or are willing to pay for the extras that do come with the membership, or I should say the mentorship part of Roguefx. Y'all are in for a treat. I am not necessarily doing signals. I'm not doing signals. I don't understand why you would ever want a signal when you can just learn how to do it and then do it forever, right? It's like, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Show him how to fish, he'll eat pretty much for a lifetime, right? I do appreciate everyone here for tuning in. I hope this makes sense. I hope this is pretty much giving you that enlightenment, that realization that you are pretty much needing. This has been Ranges and Structure 2.0. Until next time on Jody Effects, y'all have an amazing day.